What I should say by way of introduction, that's what he told me to say. He's a modest man, but he works really hard, and I'm proud to call you friend and brother Cacti. Don Johnson.
All right.
Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow Cacti, welcome to today's dedication. I'm honored to be speaking with you on this special occasion. We're honored. We're here to honor our fallen Cacti, their courage, their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. This monument is a tribute to them and a product of brotherly love. Through the Cacti Association, which I'm proud to be a member of. One of my favorite quotes is from Carl Sandburg. Valor is a gift. Those having it never know for sure if they have it till the test comes. And those having it in one test never know for sure if they will have it when the next test comes. For these Cacti, the test came and they did not fail. Thinking back to the early 90s, I was in search of Cacti that I had served with. Snail mail was my method then. I was writing ads into veteran magazines, looking for, trying to find the brothers that actually raised me. The letters I got back were very few, nobody I knew. Some from prison. Amazingly, they mostly wanted money. One actually wrote me what he did in Vietnam, and it rang very true. So, and he was down, and I mentored him for the year and a half or so that he had left in prison to boost his ego, let him he could know that he could get back in society. And I was happy to be able to meet him in Kansas City in 2001. That was nice. I told my wife Karen that he may come knocking on our door one day, so I wasn't sure. But the search was slow. The writing I was doing, I wasn't getting much in return. I was getting frustrated. There was two instances where I actually forgot two fallen Cacti names. I could remember their faces, I could remember them, but I couldn't remember their names. That was very frustrating. On occasion in the early 90s, we traveled to the Traveling Vietnam Wall, came to Zachary, Louisiana, and I wanted to go pay my respects to these two fallen Cacti among many others. I got up to the wall, and a gentleman came up and asked me, "Who are you looking for?" And I stood there. And it dawned on me that I had forgotten their names again. I went back to the car, sat down, and wept. Literally wept. How could I forget their names again? So now my quest was not only to find Cacti that I had served with, but to find the names of these two fallen Cacti. I had their faces in my heart and mind every day, every night since Vietnam, but could not remember their names. In 1995, things took a turn for the better as I met one Joe Laporte in Birmingham, Alabama at a Mid-South 4th Infantry Chapter reunion. We had a common cause of finding Cacti we served with and our fallen comrades. Within a few months, Joe put the very first website up. Very simple. Nothing compared to what we have today, but it was It was very effective. The cacti started communicating with cacti, who they had been in touch with for years. Joe also convinced me to get on the internet. And through that, I was able to find the two names that I was looking for. It took me a while. The history that was available on the internet was very informative. The two names was Louis Cam Francisco and Danny Nolander. I'll never forget these names again. I honor them and others when the traveling wall comes near Baton Rouge. I put a picture of them, the date they were KIA, the location on the wall, and a notation about them, and an 8x10 frame. And I put it at the bottom of the location on the wall so that somebody has a picture to go along with the name. And with social media, it's even easier now. For Memorial Day, Louis was my profile picture for half a day, Danny for part of the day, my cousin for part of the day. So, and I know many fellow cacti use social media to honor the fallen also, as do the actives. The actives put them out there. In 1997, I was vacationing in Orlando, and Ben Yeoman decided to come over and visit me. First time we met. A discussion developed about, with the names we have, would we be able to form an association? Should we have a reunion? Would anybody come? Would anybody care? And it took a while for a group of us to get started, but in 1999, we had the very first reunion in Las Vegas, and it was a success. 100-some cacti, some came with their wives. What surprised me was how many families of fallen comrades came. And I remember how many came up and shook my hand and said, "Thank you, remember it. Thank you for remembering it." The success of our reunions has been phenomenal. It's the high point of the year for many of us, and the high point of the reunion is usually the memorial service. It's quite a service. It seemed like most of the books I read, I couldn't find cacti history in hardly anything. And I thought that very wrong. How could a unit as great as ours not be in these books? Let alone honor our fallen comrades. But through the efforts of many people, we accumulated a vast amount of our history, all the way back to the formation of the regiment. And through that, and our growing numbers, we've identified our fallen cacti, made a memorial page for each one of them, and have an ongoing search to find pictures to be posted on their website. And we include them in the memorial service. That is the biggest part of the memorial service during the banquet. Another search was to identify the grave sites of our fallen brothers. We've undertaken and have a good database so visits can be made to these grave sites and memorials left in remembrance of them. These visits come on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, if people just happen to be in the neighborhood. There's one gentleman that's his weekend tour. Every weekend he's out looking for somebody's grave. All this has been achieved through the devotion and dedication of guys like Dick Arnold, Jim Bedingfield, Doc Hall, Pete Biro, John Lortz, and Tom Gregg, to name a few. As a national organization, we've been able to have representation at several memorials, funerals, and dedications. This shows our commitment and devotion in remembering our fallen brothers. In 2004, the first KIA in Afghanistan, David Frazee, funeral was in New Orleans. He was the first KIA since Vietnam. I attended for the wreath, and it was kind of hard. but enjoyable at the same time to meet the family and honor him. In 2012, along with Pete Dero, Pete flew into New Orleans. I picked him up. We drove to Three Rivers, Texas, a very small town, and we were at the funeral of Clovis Ray, the last KIA in Afghanistan. In between those, there were 26 KIAs in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we had representatives at each and every one of them. Currently, we're attending the funerals of Korean War cacti that are being identified through DNA. I think about 5 so far this year. Jim Bedingfield, myself, and Doc Hall attended one in Lexington, Mississippi a month or so ago. Very moving. The interesting part of our involvement in these services is the incredible bond we form with our heroes and their families once we find out about their past, because we usually start doing research to see who they were. Most recently, a Sergeant Clement Thibodeau Jr., whose remains were identified through DNA June 13th, is our newest project. He hasn't been identified when his funeral was, but I've already found that he has a headstone in Church Point, Louisiana, which is in Cadia Parish. I was able to find Senior, and above Senior was his wife, and able to Google and find where one of his brothers had passed away in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I was able to find phone numbers for several relatives. And so we're hoping to find when this funeral or this memorial take place, and we'll be there. Interesting thing about Clement was he was only 17 years old when he was captured on November 28, 1950. A few weeks after the Chinese crossed into the Yalu River and fresh troops came into the fight. He also had been wounded in August and returned to the field in September, but he was captured 2 weeks before his 18th birthday. He died at the age 19 as a prisoner of war. In telling this story to one of my golf buddies, I was telling him about Clement, because his name spells C-L-E-M-E-N-T. And he says it's a very interesting story, but you ain't from where we are because it's Clement. In the spring of 2008, Mike Triang contacted me about a project he wanted to do. He told me about the Infantry Museum, the Walk of Honor, and all the monuments that were being erected by different units. He thought it fitting that a lasting memory to cacti be included. I suggested that he make a motion from the floor to look into funding and plans. The membership voted for this. Mike was made the committee chairman and approved to get design plans and donations. It's been a long haul since then, with several design changes, additions, and funding requirements. Mike became ill a short time after that and passed away in January 2012, not seeing the fruits of his labor come to completion. Jim Bedingfield spearheaded the project after that, helping Mike's wife Lois, very instrumental in the design, and from the board of directors. And here we stand with a finished tribute to our fallen brothers. This shows me the dedication the members of this association have for their fallen comrades and funding this monument through donations. This is truly a work of brotherly love. Your presence here today shows the love and devotion we have for our fallen cacti. It is a lasting way to say, we remember. From the border battles in Nogales, the Pacific in World War II, to the war in Korea, the jungles and mountains of Vietnam, and the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq. Thank you for attending. God bless you. Take arms. Cacti forever.
Thank you, Don. At this time, we're very fortunate to have Lieutenant Colonel Bartholomew III give us an update on what's going on. I have not read his speech, but he is the current battalion commander. Flew in last night, drove down this morning from Atlanta. West Point class of 1995, has served as platoon leader, company commander, Battalion S3, operations and escort, logistics, has been commanding General Staff College, and had several overseas assignments. He is married and has 4 children. At this time, I present Lieutenant Colonel J. Bartholomew.
Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm on Aloha. Literally flew in about 5 hours ago, and honored to be with you today for this tremendous ceremony. For Cacti veterans, family, and friends, I'm humbled to address you today as the representative of the current day Cacti. The other 833 couldn't be with you today, but they wanted to be with you, and they've seen this in progress, and the pride that comes from this piece of granite and the location here at the home of the infantry is beyond words. I simply just want to say thank you. I can't thank you enough. Our Cacti today cannot thank you enough for the time, resources, dedication, and commitment that Don described. Were it not for his efforts and the efforts of many of you all who I had the opportunity of meeting during the last reunion and just in the last hour, and for those who have come and visited Hawaii, who've come out to the island and come to visit Sequad and get to see our Kerr Memorial, and those that honor the veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Were it not for you, we would not have a lineage to lean on. That of Take Arms, Cacti Forever. Because that runs true for every soldier that is in our formation, and for many that are standing in the back that are the next generation of veterans, that many of them served with the battalion in the first deployment to Afghanistan in 2004, the subsequent deployments to Iraq in 06, 07, 08, and then 3 of our captains here today that are our youngest Cacti veterans here with us today that served in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, and redeployed about 16 months ago from our most recent conflict. The 35th Infantry Regiment history is marked by sacrifice of our nation's sons on the field of battle. From the regiment's first engagement in World War II, deploying from the island after Pearl Harbor to Guadalcanal, to the Pusan perimeter breakout during the Korean War, to Operation Blue Light, which many of you took part in deploying from Oahu directly to Pleiku, Vietnam, as part of the same brigade that we are still a part of, 3rd Brigade, 25th Infantry Division. The Cacti has been tested in battle time and time again, and it's from these roots and from this lineage that we draw our strength and our history, our sense of commitment and duty and honor. Today, your Cacti veterans in this most recent conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan bore the heaviest casualties of any in our brigade, across the 3rd Brigade. Today's Cacti soldier also possesses the same pride that Vietnam veteran Staff Sergeant Chuck Norris described during his visit to our battalion 2 weeks ago. A recipient of the Silver Star and multiple Purple Hearts, he was the recon platoon sergeant for 1st Battalion, 35th Infantry, and shared with us his experience in multiple units throughout his time in Korea and Vietnam, and he described that there was no greater pride and cohesion that he experienced in any other unit than the Cacti. And we've heard this time and time again. And that's where our soldiers really draw that strength, because these present-day veterans feel this same draw to stand here with you in unison and appreciate this piece of granite and steel that is before you in rock. President Calvin Coolidge stated, "A nation which soon forgets its heroes will itself soon be forgotten." We cannot thank our Regimental Association enough for staying the course to ensure that our veterans, our fallen, will not be forgotten. We will not forget. With each basic training graduation that goes on that field, as just did today, there are soldiers nation that are going to report to our ranks within 3 to 4 weeks' time. Each of them will have walked this walk and seen this monument and seen the Cacti. And when they come into our organization, they will feel and know the history that comes with this great work. Only a few will garner that privilege of making the trek to Hawaii, much like many of you all did, from Fort Benning, straight out of basic training to Hawaii. But they will join in, as you did with your mission, in preparing to meet our nation's call in the Pacific, as we've been called in the future. Over time, these new infantrymen will learn of their valor and the great sacrifices made, many described by Brother Don and what he's provided to us, and all the history that we are gleaning through the websites. All of our soldiers are learning this history and know of our 9 Medal of Honor recipients. Your history and stories inspires greatness in our soldiers today, and we will continue to live that legacy as long as our colors fly at our headquarters at Schofield Barracks, or wherever we're ordered to fight and win our nation's wars in the future. May God bless our Cacti soldiers, past, present, and future, and may God bless this great nation in which we serve. Take arms, Cacti forever.
Thank you, Colonel. At this time, I would ask Captain Ennis and Sanchez if they would step forward. Ms. Laird, Ms. Ron, if you would, assist in the placing of the wreath in front of the monument. Would you please stand for tap? You may be seated. At this time, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Major General. I'll be walking tours. William C. Moore and his wife are with us today. He is a graduate West Point, class of 1952, served as an infantry platoon leader in Korea, company commander. He was former battalion commander of the 2nd of the 35th, graduate of the Army War College, Armed Forces Staff College, has had a very distinguished career after he retired from the military. We appreciate his attending today, and we always appreciate having him at our reunion. General Moore.
Jim got it right the first time, Lieutenant Colonel Moore. That's most of you remember me in that with that hat on there, and it's always a pleasure to be back with foreign soldiers. I know the first battalion is represented here, so I speak for both the battalions of the 35th Regiment. Jim, thanks for allowing me to participate here and come back to Fort Benning. Almost today, 61 years ago, I walked in that gate as a second lieutenant in infantry, no infantry officers, basic course, and then to the airborne school, and then Korea, serving in the 3rd Infantry Division, the 7th Regiment of the 3rd Division. So do the arithmetic there. I'm an old guy there. And as I tell a lot of people, I hope I can be around for a lot more of the reunions. I want to express the same appreciation that others have for the work of Doug Johnson, and all the others that have represented this family here for so long. Done a remarkable job. I don't know of another association that has the kind of bonding and turn out the family that we've got today. And that's what it is. It's a family. I look out here and I got to work hard to find the soldiers, because there's the wives, the children, the grandchildren, the widows, but we're here as a family. And there's been a lot of expression about those that are behind the monument, those that are not with us anymore, those that we will never forget, and it will be in our hearts always. But not as much discussion as those that are in front of the monument. You all, us, the living. And as Colonel Bartholomew mentioned, those that are following us, the next generation of Cacti. So our family really encompasses all of these three elements. And although we specifically honor those that have left us, whether they died in combat, or whether they served between the wars, or as they serve now, but we've got to recognize that our family is extraordinarily large. And I just want to say to those people here that this is over.